Hello and welcome to the podcast We Are Selling. My name's Lee Woodward of Realtor. Today's tip is around the listing conversation, the presentation that you do to win business in a changed market, and a slight shift of technique, and that technique and that tip is going to be called Tourable moments. This tip is designed to segment your presentation in a different way. And what I mean by that is traditionally, we knock on the door and we either sit down and chat or we do the tour of the property. If you're a person that does the tour of the property first, which is my recommendation, because that's where you get to build rapport, ask questions, traditionally we would do a quick scoot round the property and then sit down and that's it. We're going to lock eyeballs and present for an hour or for half an hour, 45 minutes, direct to the owner about everything we do, our consultancy, and why we are the best person for the job. Nothing wrong with this. It's been going on forever. However, if we look at how an owner's got to take in all that information that we are communicating, it would be far better to compress the sit-down presentation to more of a rollout plan that acts as a final closing sequence of the conversation. So let's get deep into the topic. When you are presenting or doing the listing conversation to the owner, let's say there's 5 key messages that you like to discuss. It's a point of interest and it's a winning moment where the owner thinks, I really like what this person is saying. So for example, you may be using the technique of vendor involvement. If you are using vendor involvement, you may ask a question such as, just suppose the property was sold, you've moved on with your plans to your next property. Can I ask you, what will you miss most about this place? And the owner tells you what that is, and that is one of those key moments and points that you have created with the owner. Well, instead of having that conversation at the kitchen table, make it a moment on the tour. As you're walking around the property, you might actually see a really nice garden area is going to be a special feature, and you pause, you stop, you break eye contact from the owner, and you ask that question, what will you miss most about this property when you're gone? Just suppose you've sold, you've got a great result, but what will you miss most about the property? And they say, well, actually right here, this garden area, we have cheese and bickies on a Sunday, we look at the garden, it's one of our favourite things. Well, John and Helen, I've got to communicate that through to our purchaser because no one knows the home as good as you, and I've got to become an expert overnight. And we might chit-chat for 4 or 5 minutes there, and that is what you call a tourable moment. But you've just grabbed 5 minutes back from the closing conversation to compress that chance of getting a yes. Let's say you continue walking around the property and you see another part of the home where you want to bring up another technique that you actually use. For example, you are at the best part of the home, the 80% area where the owners spend 80% of their time. And you explain that to them. You say, John and Helen, is this where you spend most of your time? Yes, it is. We just love it here. Well, this is where I'm going to bring the buyer straight up and say, this is where the owners spend most of their time. How does it feel? Stepping out of role play for a moment. Tourable moments is simply about picking a great content piece that you want to communicate to win business, but doing it as you walk round the property in segmentation. You spend 4 minutes there, 3 minutes over here, 6 minutes over there, and 2 minutes over here. You have eye contact, you can break eye contact. You're actually walking, so everyone's alive and moving round, and that's probably the magic of it. If you picked 4 or 5 of these moments on the tour, when you sit down, you've actually done 20 minutes of content. So that 45-minute presentation has now been halved. So you can actually get to the part of, well, should you decide to engage us, this is what we would actually do, this is the rollout plan, and this is the sequence of what we would offer you. And an owner can actually make a decision quickly rather than it's too extended, but they've actually seen your brilliance, your content as you toured the property. And that is Tourable Moments, coaching tip of the day. Present on the go. I'm Lee Woodward. Thank you for joining us on We Are Selling.